one of the pioneers of the field of mechanistic interpretability, which is an exciting set of efforts that aims to reverse engineer neural networks to figure out what's going on inside, inferring behaviors from neural activation patterns.
We're only matching a tiny fraction. There's so much we need to kind of discover algorithmically. The more data and the more compute and the more training you put into these models, the better they perform. I've seen the story happen for enough times to really believe that probably the scaling is going to continue and that there's some magic to it that we haven't really explained on a theoretical basis yet.
The underlying scaling hypothesis has to do with big networks, big data leads to intelligence.
First, they capture the really simple correlations, the really simple patterns, and there's this long tail of other patterns.
How complicated and complex is the real world? How much stuff is there to learn?
I don't think any of us knows the answer to that question.
Humans fundamentally have to be part of the loop. That's the cause of the ceiling, not maybe the limits of the intelligence.
We simply run out of data. There's only so much data on the internet, and there's issues with the quality of the data, right? You can get hundreds of trillions of words on the internet, but a lot of it is repetitive, or it's search engine optimization drivel. If you think about what was done with DeepMind's AlphaGo Zero, they managed to get a bot all the way from no ability to play Go whatsoever to above human level just by playing against itself. There was no example data from humans required. With one of those methods, we'll get around the data limitation, or there may be other sources of data that are available. If we get to 100 billion, that's still not enough compute. That's still not enough scale. At the beginning of the year, I think the state of the art was 3 or 4%. So in 10 months, we've gone from 3% to 50% on this task. And I think in another year, we'll probably be at 90%. Race to the top is about trying to push the other players to do the right thing by setting an example. It's not about being the good guy. It's about setting things up so that all of us can be the good guy. Shaping the incentives to point upward instead of shaping the incentives to point downward. We found a direction inside one of the neural network's layers that corresponded to the Golden Gate Bridge. And we just turned that way up. Somehow these interventions on the model, where you kind of adjust its behavior, somehow emotionally made it seem more human than any other version of the model. We felt that there was demand both for a really powerful model, that might be a little bit slower, that you'd have to pay more for, and also for fast, cheap models that are as smart as they can be for how fast and cheap. What's a really short poem? It's a haiku. Yeah. And so haiku is the small, fast, cheap model that was at the time, was really surprisingly intelligent for how fast and cheap it was. The manner and personality of these models is more an art than it is a science. We don't think that models pose these risks seriously yet, but every new model we want to evaluate to see if we're starting to get close to some of these more dangerous capabilities. At any given stage, we're focused on improving everything at once. Each team makes progress in their particular segment of the relay race better. And it's just natural that when we make a new model, we put all of these things in at once. Oh my God, this helped me with something that it would have taken me hours to do. This is the first model that's actually saved me time. It's that benchmark that's gone from it can do it 3% of the time to it can do it about 50% of the time. Models can be polite or brusque. They can be, very reactive, or they can ask you questions. They can have what feels like a warm personality or a cold personality. They can be boring, or they can be very distinctive, like Golden Gate Claude was. The fact of the matter is that you can, talk to a model 10,000 times, and there are some behaviors you might not see. Just like with a human, right? We both have never changed the weights of the model without telling anyone, and it wouldn't, certainly in the current setup, it would not make sense to do that. The complaints for us and for other model companies about the model changed, the model isn't good at this, the model got more censored, the model was dumbed down, those complaints are constant. The science of how these models work is very poorly developed.